Here are the top stories for today, October 23, 2020. Traslacion 2021 is canceled. President Rodrigo Duterte supports the recognition of same-sex civil union. More jeeps and UV Express units are back on the road starting Sunday. And Malacanang says the AFP simply warns Liza, Soberano and Catriona that their advocacies might be used by leftists. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Our top story for today, Traslacion 2021, or the Grand Procession of the Black Nazarene, scheduled January 9 next year, is canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This was agreed upon in a meeting yesterday between the city government of Manila and officials of the Quiapo Church. The decision was announced in the Facebook page of Manila Public Information Office and Twitter post of Mayor Isko Moreno. Monsignor Hernando Coronel of Quiapo Church said more holy masses will be celebrated for the devotees. The annual parade gathers millions of devotees who believe in the miraculous power of the dark wood image of Jesus Christ. Meanwhile, the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases has increased the seating capacity on churches, mosques, and other religious gatherings to 30%. This is applicable on areas under the General Community Quarantine or GCQ status. President Rodrigo Duterte supports the recognition of civil union of same-sex couples in the country. This is according to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque after Pope Francis endorsed same-sex civil unions for the first time. Pope Francis, in a feature-length documentary, Francesco, was quoted as saying, "Homosexual people have the right to be in a family. They are children of God."
The President has said it over and over again. Pabor po siya sa isang batas na magre-recognize ng civil union sa mga parehong same-sex relationships.
Roque said conservative Catholic lawmakers would no longer have a basis to oppose the passage of civil union laws following Pope Francis's stance on the contentious issue.
Depende na lang yan sa prioridad ng ating Kongreso. Pero with no less than the Pope supporting it, I think even the most conservative of all Catholics in Congress should no longer have a basis for objecting.
Meanwhile, local Catholic prelates said they would like to watch the documentary film if indeed Pope Francis expressed support to same-sex civil union. Bataan Bishop Ruperto Santos said it is just a documentary film. There could be insertions or edited or just for propaganda, so it could be talked about or patronized. For Legazpi Bishop Joel Bailon, he said he would like to read first an official statement of the Vatican regarding the Pope's remarks. Novaliches Bishop Emeritus Teodoro Bacani would also like to see the context of his remarks and when he made them and for what he was referring to. For Sorsogon Bishop Emeritus Arturo Bastes, Pope's statement is contrary to divine law. The Philippine Health Insurance Corporation, or PhilHealth, said it will just wait for the Department of Justice for proper legal guidance on how to proceed with its payment to the Philippine Red Cross, or PRC. In a statement, PhilHealth reiterated that it has funds to pay its 930 million peso overdue balance to the Philippine Red Cross. Meanwhile, Health Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergara said the Department of Health acknowledges Red Cross's contribution on COVID-19 testing. Vergara confirmed that the government's testing initiatives were also affected when the PRC stopped its operations. She said the DOH already requested some hospitals to process the specimens previously assigned to the PRC. The government targets to immunize an initial 20 million Filipinos once the vaccine for coronavirus disease is made available in the country. Among the 20 million individuals to initially get the COVID-19 vaccines are frontliners and those in vulnerable sectors. National Policy Against COVID-19 Chief Implementer Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said the government has formed a task group on vaccination composed of the Department of Science and Technology and the Department of Health. He said there are vaccine developers who are now conducting Phase 3 of clinical trials which potentially treat the dreaded disease. Under Phase 3, thousands of patients have to be inoculated with a potential vaccine to test its safety and efficacy. Phase 3 clinical trial is usually known as the final step before approval for the mass rollout. Galvez said all major hospitals in the country will be part of the inoculation for the vulnerable sectors such as elders, pregnant women, those with comorbidities, as well as people residing in communities listed as COVID-19 high risk. While the Philippines is said to be on China's priority list on their ongoing development of coronavirus vaccine, the Chinese government stressed there is no condition set to avail it. Philippine Ambassador to Beijing Jose Santiago Santaromana said 2 Chinese candidate vaccines are on the final stages of Phase 3 clinical trials with no report of adverse effects. Santaromana explained that distribution could be a challenge as the recipient country must first secure a cold storage facility ahead of the vaccine's production. China is seen to begin production as early as November or December 2020 once the candidate vaccines pass the clinical trials and approval processes. The vaccines still need to pass the requirements of the Food and Drug Administration or FDA, as well as the Department of Science and Technology and the Department of Health. Meanwhile, Budget Secretary Wendell Avisado assured that funds will be ready for the country's storage facilities for vaccines. To ease the experience of returning overseas Filipinos in getting tested for COVID-19, the Philippine Coast Guard has made improvements to its manual encoding of RT-PCR tests. The PCG said it has deployed more personnel to oversee COVID-19 tests for returning OFWs at one-stop shops at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. It also deployed an information technology team to improvise an automated encoding system to replace its slower manual pre-processing. These measures are made after the PCG was forced to return to the slower pre-processing method when the Philippine Red Cross stopped processing COVID-19 tests. This resulted to about 6,000 delayed results of tested individuals. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque asked the Philippine Red Cross to resume its testing to avoid longer personal quarantines. Meanwhile, a total of 40 stranded Filipinos were brought home from North Sulawesi, Indonesia. The second batch of repatriates from Manado were fetched by the Philippine Coast Guard vessel BRP to Bataha after being granted a diplomatic clearance from the government of the Republic of Indonesia. All repatriates underwent reverse transcription polymerase chain reaction or RT-PCR tests before their departure and another round of mandatory swab tests upon arrival. They are also required to undergo a 14-day quarantine in designated facilities before being cleared to return to their families. Malacanang is expecting the proposed national budget for 2021 to be submitted to the Office of the President on or before the second week of December. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said Congress should submit the spending measure within the time frame to give President Duterte ample time to review its version of the budget and wield his line item veto power if necessary.
Alam niyo po kasi hindi rin ganun kabilis ang pag-review ng budget kasi sa budget lang po may kapangyarihan ng presidente na gumawa ng tinatawag na line veto. So actually, maybe I should reschedule the time frame. Kinakailangan pala mas maaga because the process of reviewing it entails a line-by-line analysis.
The Department of Budget and Management, or DBM, assures there is no delay in the release of crucial funds under the Bayanihan to Recover as One or Bayanihan 2 Act. These include 8 billion pesos for the Department of Labor and Employment, 6 billion pesos for the Department of Social Welfare and Development, 11.6 billion for the Department of Agriculture, and 20.5 billion for the Department of Health. Budget Secretary Wendell Abisado said some 46 billion pesos worth of funds are now up for President Rodrigo Duterte's approval before they can be distributed to various government agencies. To date, only 4 billion pesos has been released to government agencies out of the 165.5 billion pesos worth of stimulus funds allotted under the Bayanihan II law. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the Office of the Executive Secretary is ensuring that the funds are indeed needed before approving the requests.
Wala pong bottlenecks po. Proseso lang po ang sinusunod natin. Pagka po kompleto lahat ng dokumento, inaakyat po kaagad natin yan sa Office of the President for the corresponding approval. So, hindi po dinidelay.
Still to come, more Jeeps and UV Express units are back on the road starting Sunday. And around 900 informal sector workers will receive free bicycles from the Department of Labor and Employment. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Sa matinding laban natin sa Coronavirus Disease 2019, sugpuin din natin ang pagkalat ng fake news. Huwag magbahagi ng impormasyon na hindi tiyak ang pinagmulan. I-check mabuti ang source ng balita. Kumuha lamang ng impormasyon mula sa mga official channel ng Department of Health. Huwag magpadala sa maling balita, basta't sama-sama at laging handa. Kaya natin to. Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. More Jeeps and UV Express are set to resume operations this coming Sunday. According to the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board, a total of 30 routes with 1,704 PUJs and 22 routes with 1,064 UV Express units will be activated on Sunday, October 25. They will be allowed to operate provided they have a valid and existing certificate of public convenience or application for extension of validity. They must also have a personal passenger insurance policy per unit and a QR code from the LTFRB website.
Mas okay naman yun. Kasi kawawa naman yung iba, di ba, naglalakad. Dapat nga pati yun sa amin. Kalaw at saka flare, hindi nga nakatakbo eh. Wala pa.
Sa akin naman maganda na ibalik yung jeep kasi mahirap sumakay. Yun lang ang masasabi ko doon. Sana na maging normal na.
Wala, ganun pa rin eh. Kahit binalik nila, hirap pa rin. Mahirap yung kita nga yung mga jeep. Saka yung mga iba, hindi pa nga binabalik yung mga ibang jeep. Wala, ganun pa rin.
Binati niya yun?
Masaya po kasi nakakatulong din sa mga kapwa-tao. Kasi yung mga kasi na wala silang pera kapag walang biyahe. Mahirap naman, paano mabubuhay ang pamilya, di ba? Kaya maganda rin yung bumalik kang may jeep.
Malacanang appealed to militant rallies to strictly follow health and safety protocols. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque appealed to militant groups to at least observe government protocols which limit gatherings to only 10 people. Roque, who is also the spokesperson of the Interagency Task Force, said while freedom of speech is guaranteed in the Constitution, the government has an obligation to protect even its critics from COVID-19.
Well, alam niyo po, ang karapatan ng malayang pananalita ay gransyado po na ating saligang batas. Ngayon pa mang, ang aking pakiusap lang po, panahon po ng COVID. At kahit kayo po ay lumalaban at kalaban ng gobyerno, pinangangalagaan pa namin ang inyong kalusugan. So ang pakiusap po, sundin natin hanggang 10 tao lang po ang pagtitipon-tipon dahil ayaw po namin kayong magkasakit. Miski kayo po ay walang ginawa, kung hindi labanan ng gobyerno, Pilipino pa rin po kayo at may obligasyon pa rin kaming isalba kayo kung kayo ay magkakasakit. Make it easier for everyone po. Wag pong magtipon-tipon.
Netizens expressed dismay over the removal of tarpaulins, condemning the Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army National Democratic Front in Metro Manila. In various post comments, netizens said the CPP, NPA, NDF must be condemned for their atrocities. There are also those who said the CPP, NPA does not even recognize that there is a pandemic. Some netizens who praised Dumagoso for being a good leader said they need to contradict his decision this time because of the dangers posed by the influence of the communist movement. On Wednesday, tarpaulins were seen hanging in different parts of Metro Manila, tagging the communist rebels as persona non grata in Metro Manila. Manila Mayor Francisco Isko Moreno Dumagoso immediately ordered the removal of the tarpaulins in the city, saying Filipinos should unite first and spread love rather than hate amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Interior Secretary Eduardo Ano sees nothing wrong with the tarpaulins set up around Metro Manila that condemn the atrocities of the Communist Party of the Philippines New People's Army. Ano welcomed the placing of the tarpaulins, saying these may be from citizens stating that they are already fed up with the atrocities perpetrated by the CPP, NPA, NDF. He said it also sends a clear message to the communist terrorists that they are no longer welcome in Metro Manila. Ano meanwhile said he respects Manila Mayor Francisco Dumagoso's order to take down these tarpaulins in the city. Various provinces, cities, and municipalities have earlier passed resolutions declaring the communist terrorists as persona non grata. More than 7 million pesos worth of seized illegal drugs in Butuan were destroyed by the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA. The details from Venus Garcia.
Some 7.1 million worth of confiscated narcotics was destroyed by the PDEA at the 402nd Infantry Brigade in Butuan City. Among those destroyed, more than a kilo of crystal meth and close to 100 grams of weed or marijuana confiscated during the anti-drug operations in Butuan City since 2015 until this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. The dematerialized illegal drugs were presented as pieces of evidence in cases already adjudicated in courts.
Kahit may pandemic tayo, we still continue our anti-drug campaign. And masasabi na rin natin na namamanage natin yung ating problem on dangerous drugs dahil yun nga, in full swing pa rin yung ating anti-drug operations.
According to Agusan del Norte Governor Del Corvera, the LGUs and Barangay Anti-Drug Abuse Councils play very significant roles in the continuous campaign against illegal drugs in the country. The destruction of said illegal drugs was done in the face of allegations of recycling or reselling confiscated drugs.
Wala talagang recycling na nangyayari dahil that is covered with full papers. May mga kaulog-kulang recordings yung ginagawa natin. So, I can assure you as the Regional Director of PDEA Regional Office 13 na walang nangyayaring recycling as far as Caraga is concerned.
For the PNA Newsroom, I am Venus Garcia of the Philippine Information Agency, Caraga.
The hardships in the armed struggle have forced the former leader of the militant urban poor group Kabama and her members to go back to the folds of the law. Lolita de Jesus, former president of Kadamay Villa Luis resettlement site in Pandi, Bulacan, was one of the 451 mass-based supporters of the New People's Army who withdrew support from the communist terrorist group. De Jesus said she could no longer bear the hunger and fatigue she experienced while with the insurgents. The returnees took their oath of allegiance to the government before Governor Daniel Fernando as head of the provincial task force to end local communist armed conflict. Fernando said the continuous local peace engagement activities made the Kadamay members aware of the government's programs and the opportunity to change their lives. Meanwhile, in Agusan del Norte, 13 members of the NPA who surrendered to the Army's 29th Infantry Battalion underwent assessment for the government's Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program, or ECLIP. The former rebels are temporarily staying in the New Hope Village halfway house. Eligible returnees may receive a permanent house and lot, as well as training, seminars, and livelihood projects. Since 2016, a total of 60 NPA rebels have already surrendered to the Army, 35 of whom have already benefited from the ECLIP program of the government. Around 900 informal sector workers who were displaced due to the COVID-19 pandemic are set to receive free bicycles from the Department of Labor and Employment, or DOLE. Under the Free Bicycles project, beneficiaries would be tapped as riders providing food and non-food delivery services. Aside from bicycles, recipients would also receive cell phone and e-loading wallet, an isolation bag, helmet, reflectorized vest, and bicycle rack. The DOLE said they will start giving away bikes in Mandaluyong, Muntinlupa, Pasig City, and Manila. Applicants are advised to go to the DOLE field office or Public Employment Service office to avail of the program. Up next, Malacanang says the AFP simply warns Liza Soberano and Catriona that their advocacies might be used by the leftists. And let us take a look at the popular Central Luzon trading post in Pampanga. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki at kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
Malacanang refuted claims that the Armed Forces of the Philippines was red-tagging actress Liza Soberano and 2018 Miss Universe Catriona. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said the AFP was just giving them a warning that their advocacies might be used by left-leaning groups. Roque was referring to the statement of Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade Jr., who advised Soberano to abdicate her ties to Gabriela Youth. Parlade made his advice after Soberano participated in a webinar organized by Gabriela Youth and tearfully called on fellow influencers to speak up on issues affecting women and children. Parlade of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict also issued the same advice to Gray. Roque, however, said the AFP understands that Soberano and Gray were just advocating the rights of women and children. He said President Rodrigo Duterte likewise supports the rights of women even when he was mayor of Davao City.
Ang issue po, yung posibleng pagsasamantala ng mga komunista sa mga advokasya ng mga personalidad gaya ni Liza at ni Catriona. Pero wala po kaming problema doon sa mga sinasabi ni Liza at ni Catriona dahil ang ating presidente sinusulong din po ang karapatan ng kababaihan at malinaw po ang track record niya, lalong-lalo na nung siya po ay mayor ng Davao City.
Modernizing and adapting proper technologies and equipment can enable the agriculture sector to survive the pandemic, according to Agriculture Secretary William Dar. The agriculture chief led Thursday the harvesting of different varieties of hybrid rice inside the demonstration farm of the Department of Agriculture in Barangay Lemon, Butuan City. The harvest is the highlight of the 11th National Rice Technology Forum and part of DA's effort to promote farm modernization among the rice farmers in the region. DAR also recognized the success of farmers who ventured into hybrid rice farming, saying that they are now expecting to harvest up to 8 metric tons of palay per hectare using hybrid seeds. In a statement, DA13 Executive Director Abel James Monteguado said the agency has intensified the campaign for the wider adoption of hybrid rice technology among the local farmers in Caraga. Water in Ambuclao Dam may rise further with some possibility of reaching the spilling or normal high level even if severe tropical storm Pepito exited Luzon. Weather Bureau Pag-asa said runoff from rainfall in previous days that may still occur over the Ambuclao area in Benguet province can help increase water levels. We are not discounting that possibility, she said. Pag-asa reported Ambuclao Dam 6 a.m. water level on Friday was at 747.63 meters or below the 752-meter high spilling level. Although Pepito will no longer affect Benguet, Pag-asa said the northeast wind flow may still bring rain to the area. Meanwhile, Angat, San Roque, and Patambangan dams in Luzon may still be struggling for water this November. Pag-asa said the prospect for full recovery from weeks of rainfall shortage remains dim as water levels would likely be still below the rule curves and spilling or normal high levels. Angat Dam's basin needs about 563 millimeters of rainfall for its water to reach its normal high, while the basins of San Roque and Pantabangan dams need about 1,094 and 1,731 millimeters of rainfall, respectively. People exposed to so-called fake news online during the COVID-19 pandemic are found to have experienced anxiety and depression. A survey on mental health led by Dr. Imelu Mordeno of Mindanao State University Iligan Institute of Technology found that people exposed to fake information are likely to be distressed as they try to make sense of their experiences. To improve one's mental health during the pandemic, Mordeno advised the public to maintain communication to groups they are comfortable with, such as family and friends. Mordeno also said individuals must go back to the basics, such as eating healthy food regularly and sleeping well. Zamboangueños are sure to be proud of the Zamboanga Peninsula after breaking into the semifinals of the Chooks to Go Pilipinas 3x3 President's Cup. Team manager Junie Navarro believes his team's breakthrough semi-final stint is good news for the homegrown players in Zamboanga City. Despite requests from various players, Zamboanga Peninsula opted to field in an all-Zamboangueño lineup consisting of Rudy Linganay, Gino Jumao As, Med Salim, R.R. De Leon, and John Rebollos. Zamboanga Peninsula shocked Palayan in the quarterfinals to earn a place in the semifinals of Leg 1 at the Inspire Sports Academy in Calamba on Wednesday night. Zamboanga Peninsula has a chance to bounce back in the second leg of Chooks to Go 3x3 season opening conference. As families cope with new lifestyles amid the COVID-19 pandemic, households are taking advantage of fresh and affordable produce made available in a popular market in Pampanga. The Central Luzon Trading Post is getting the attention of market goers because of the wide variety of fresh vegetables and fruits coming from as far as the highlands of Luzon. The Trading Post, which reopened last month, is located in Barangay San Juan, San Fernando City. Market goers say the Trading Post is the place to go for good quality, low-priced products. The Central Luzon Trading Post is also known as the Food Terminal, one of the major projects of the government in partnership with the local farmers of the highlands of Luzon. The project to help local farmers recover from losses due to high production costs and restricted mobilization caused by localized lockdowns. The Trading Post is open on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Here's another look at today's biggest stories. Traslacion 2021 is canceled. President Rodrigo Duterte supports the recognition of same-sex civil union. More Jeeps and UV Express units are back on the road starting Sunday. And Malacanang says the AFP simply warns Liza, Soberano, and Catriona that their advocacies might be used by leftists. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, visit our webpage or head onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day, stay safe everyone, and a very happy weekend to all.